All right, good evening, everyone. Today's date is August 3rd, 2022. Time is 7:02. I call the meeting of the Suffern Planning Board to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item on the agenda.
She's not here.
Jade, okay. Second item on the agenda, Suffern Sales. Please approach the podium.
Is this the one from Cioffi?
No, that's...
Hello, my name is Pinchas Nyman. I'm here for the facade change at 23 Wayne Avenue. Change the window to bigger window.
Just speak a little louder. Thank you.
Should I repeat?
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Should I repeat? Hi, my name is Pinchas Nyman. I'm here for Suffern Sales and Service. That's located at 23 Wayne Avenue. I'm here for a facade change to change the window to a bigger and nicer window.
Okay, yeah, we've seen your application. I understand you've been talking to the building department, which is good. Anybody have any comments?
No, I'm just glad that you're addressing everything. That's as I said last meeting. I said, listen, you had thought that everything was handled, and I said, well, just you got to communicate, and I'm glad that you did.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, anybody else?
Well, I would just ask you, so you spoke with the building inspector. What are your intentions with the...
So I spoke to Joey and I spoke to Steve today, and he told me exactly what he wants I should do, and I will follow the process that he asked me to do.
Right,
and you understand if this is proved, that doesn't get rid of the violation. That's
Of course, we'll take care of it the way we need to.
Do I have a motion to approve the application for Suffern Sales for the facade change?
I'll make a motion to approve the
Motion, Andrew Dale. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Mr. Giannettino. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much, I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Do you want to give him that? No? Okay.
Okay, we do have Jade Bistro on the agenda. Is anybody here from Jade Bistro for a
Very short notice.
sign application?
I
Okay.
have to do it without her here. I don't have to really need her.
They might not even know where to go. They might not even know where to
Do
go.
we need her though?
I don't think so. Steve didn't have any
Yeah,
comments,
there were no
right?
comments. Everybody see the application?
Assuming it's under the...
Anybody have any comments or suggestions, criticisms?
I don't see a problem with what she's asking for.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the sign application?
Come on, guys.
I'll make a motion to approve the
Now
sign.
you're second. You got you.
I'll take second or third.
Hudson is with the motion, Mr. Dale with the second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, that was good. You didn't have to show up. All right, next up on the agenda is IV Rockland Logistics LLC. It's a continuation of the public hearing.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Good evening.
Darius Shefazadeh with the law firm Harris Beach for the applicant. As you know, we're in the site plan process, but the more narrow issue tonight, we're in the middle of the scoping process related to SECRA. As you all know, and the public is maybe aware, the scoping process is essentially the beginning of the SECRA process, where your board would adopt what we typically call a outline or a scope of the actual DEIS topics to study and what to study within those topics. We have had extensive discussions with your planner from Nelson Pope, Bonnie Framson. Our planners from BHB have prepared, which Bonnie has blessed, a very detailed scope addressing comments not only from your planners, comments from the Village of Montebello. We were here last time on that. As part of that proposed scope, the outline, so to speak, or the table of contents of the DEIS, as one of those issues we've agreed to study is an alternative and that's alternative D specifically. Alternative D is a entrance point to the property, not via Old Mill Road, however, via the south entrance, which is currently in existence. So that is part of the scope, part of the study, that ultimately may be the preferred alternative for the applicant and/or this board if issues with Old Mill Road don't progress as we'd like them to progress. But we are studying not only, and you are studying as the lead agency, not only the entrance point from Old Mill Road, but also a detailed analysis of all issues related to the entrance going on the southern side only. We're also looking at other alternatives, easements related to Old Mill Road, easements related to the neighboring property, entrances through the quarry, under the railroad tracks. So a number of things are studied. We also just received some comments earlier this week from a neighboring group. I forget the exact name of it, something for Rockland or something.
Rosa?
What was the name of it?
Rosa?
Yeah, Rosa for Rockland or something. So we received those comments. We went through in detail with Bonnie those comments, and everything was already in this draft scope, except for one issue, was consistency with the Village of Montebello comprehensive plan. Our draft now includes that. We will study that. So we feel that as of now, that we have a very comprehensive, detailed outline, table of contents for the scope. Now it's time, we believe, to get to work and do the detailed environmental studies, which you will then look at with your experts. Everything is in there. We are studying this soup to nuts from environmental issues, wetlands issues, traffic issues. We've added a number of different intersections. We've added a number of different issues when the public has made comments to address those in the DEIS. So we feel that the scope is ready to be adopted tonight. And again, you're not approving the project, you're not approving the secret process, you're not issuing any finding statements. We're getting the horse down the road so we can actually do the detailed studies with your experts, so you can ultimately review these studies and see if we need to do more studies. So that's all we're doing. Approving the table of contents tonight, which is very, very extensive for this secret process. And we'd ask for a resolution tonight for approval of the scope so we can move the project and the environmental review forward. Glad to answer any questions.
The access to the property, you said under the railroad tracks, what do you mean?
That's one of the issues we need to study. I believe Montebello brought that up in their traffic letter. They had a number of issues they wanted us to study, if you recall. One of them is Old Mill Road, one of them is the south entrance, and under the railroad tracks is off of Route 59 is a 12-foot wide.
Lafayette Avenue?
Off of Lafayette Avenue, excuse me, yes. Off of Lafayette Avenue, there's an entrance point that
Yeah,
Montebello
that's what I was
wanted us-
asking for. I thought there was another one I didn't know.
No, that little entrance point.
That actually goes through the quarry property, doesn't it?
No, there's actually all owned by ours. If you go further to the, let me get my bearings right here, I guess that's to the west. That's where the quarry entrance could potentially be. But we own a parcel of land right off of Lafayette Avenue, but it's only 12 feet wide, so we're studying it. It's probably not going to work, but we're glad to study it. They have also asked us, Montebello, to consider through the Thruway Authority an exit and entrance point near the property and a road going all the way down to Airmont Road. We have already requested from the Thruway Authority permission to do that. I did have some conversations with them. That doesn't seem to be anything that they'd be interested in, but we're studying it. My point is that the scope has serious detail of things we need to study, intersections for traffic, wetlands issues, you name it, we're studying it. So I'm not sure what else could possibly be added to the scope that would change what we're doing tonight. We're gladly, during the process, if there's something that comes up during the DES process, to look at it in the future. Anything the board would ask us to do, I know our clients and our engineers and experts would do that. So we want to move the process forward by the adoption of the scope tonight. And whether we have access to Old Mill Road or we don't, we're still studying it, and we're still studying the south entrance as a detailed study of the south entrance alternative, as alternative D.
Darius, the Lafayette Avenue is not going to work.
I don't think it's going to work either.
No way is it going to happen.
Yeah. Montebello
And
brought it up, so we'll study it.
Montebello was the one that
Of course,
proposed
it's
that.
It's in the Collier's
They're
letter.
proposing, they're throwing out a lot of things that actually aren't even in their village right now, so.
Correct.
Just wanted to make sure I got that correct.
You're right, there's a lot of issues that are not within their village that they've asked us to study, which we've agreed to, and we've put it in the draft scope that has been looked at by Nelson Pope.
I would think that and I think eventually you're going to get access to Old Mill Road, okay? That's my personal opinion. You could always do one, you'd have to do some construction and make another exit towards the northern end of the project.
Yep. Well, all this is in the scope to study.
No, I know you're studying it all, that's why I'm just throwing it out.
Yep.
Do we know what the status is of Old Mill Road right now? I know that we received a letter from the people that own the quarry, or representatives of people that own the quarry, that sum and substance almost makes it sound like they already own the road, and I was just curious whether there was payment made on that. If you happen to know that, maybe Mr. Magrino would know the answer to that.
My understanding is the Thruway Authority had an auction. The owners of the quarry, through another entity, were a high essential bidder for $5.1 million. So they are seeking to buy the property. My understanding, the fee interest still remains in the Thruway Authority, that the sale has not closed yet.
Oh, it hasn't, okay.
I understand their counsel is here, so he may be able to answer that question, but that's my understanding. But again, we're just trying to adopt that scope tonight so we can study everything you want us to study, and that Nelson Pope has asked us to study, and we're happy to do it, and we're in the process, and we have started already on a number of issues, but getting over this hurdle tonight would be a big help to the client to move this project, at least to the stage where you can look at all these issues and make a decision, obviously down the road. But we just want to begin the study and process.
Rob, do you see any more obstacles? I mean, just to get them on the road. I'm not foolish enough to think we're going anywhere right now.
Well, that's, up to the board. If you want to discuss it, we can discuss it. I don't know if you want to open it up and hear from...
Yeah, sure, let's hear from everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public, or are you counsel for quarry folks?
Good evening, members of the board. Nicholas Ward Willis with Keenan Bean, attorney for Suffern Equity, the owner of a quarry property, and also the entity that will be acquiring Old Mill Road from the Thruway Authority. You received our letter on July 14th requesting that the scope be expanded to include projections of traffic from our proposed development of the project. You may recall we had previously worked with the board and staff on a project 2 years ago that was put on hold until we were able to acquire the second means of access. And so now that we have that means, and we anticipate closing within the next 60 days, it's dependent upon the AG and the Controller's Office just going through their paperwork and getting us the deeds, that we would then be submitting an application to your board within the next 30 to 45 days. We think from our discussions with the county and briefly with Montebello and prior discussions with the village, obviously truck traffic and access is a key issue, and it makes sense from a regional perspective and in protecting the residents and getting these questions answered sooner rather than later, that the scope that you're approving tonight or considering tonight include that requirement that traffic generated from our project and the redevelopment of the quarry be included in that scope. We think you have the authority to do so, and that's reasonable and a prudent thing to do to get answers sooner rather than later. We're happy to cooperate with the board, the consultants, and the applicant in providing that information on an expedited basis. We don't wish to delay their project. We recognize they have a comprehensive scope, but we do think traffic is a key issue that the projects and the board and the public would benefit from getting ahead of that issue and having an understanding of those issues sooner than later. And we would reiterate our July 14th request that you appropriately include a requirement that that project, our project, be included in their traffic generation with respect to the intersections being analyzed.
So you want Brookfield to pay for a study for your client?
No, we would be happy to have a discussion with them about the appropriateness of sharing those costs. We think it's appropriate that if it's being done, that those costs, those traffic counts be included.
Okay, I got...
As it's being done, by the way, for other projects that are either approved or pending.
Now, my understanding is if your client purchases Old Mill Road, you still need access through the property Brookfield closed on to access the quarry. Is that correct?
That is not correct. The Old Mill Road property that is being purchased abuts the quarry property, so we have complete access from Hemian through Old Mill Road, that property, to the quarry property, as well as access, as you know, out through to Route 59 through Tilton.
Where is that access?
I'm sorry, which access?
You're saying you have access to Old Mill Road. Where is it located on your property? And how does it get to Brookfield's property? Because you got wetlands, you got outcrops of rock. Cliffs. So I can't vision, and I haven't been up there in a while, I'll admit that. But
Right.
I can't see where you have a clear way to get to Old Mill Road.
Understand, and that will be displayed in our application. I will tell you that in speaking with our consultants, that is feasible. Also, looking at old aerial photographs, you'll see that there was access through that area to the quarry property in the past. And there is the road that extends down to the bottom of the quarry from the top. So there is access, it is feasible. In terms of wetlands, we've had discussions with DEC. We've had our consultants look at this beforehand, so we don't see those concerns. But again, in our application, we'll address those.
My concern is this. You're asking the board, you said that we have the authority to be able to basically request Brookfield to include your traffic count. Where is your traffic count? I don't even see an application on board.
No, that's correct. I told you we have not submitted the
Correct, and so what I'm saying is, I don't understand how you would, Keenan Bean has a very good reputation. I know a lot of people from Keenan Bean, but I've never seen anything quite like this, where you guys are asking somebody to put in a traffic count where you guys have not put in any numbers, not even an application yet. I really don't understand exactly what you're looking for them to do, or what you're even looking for us to do at this point. I mean, usually the process is you put an application in, and then we start from there. And to be honest with you, since you're a little late to the ball game and their application has already been moving, it would be you guys that would be required to put their traffic into your traffic studies, not the opposite way around.
I'm aware of that. What we're asking is that, to sort of, as I said in the beginning, that it's really, there's a regional issue, and we think it would be appropriate to get ahead of those issues.
It would be, but it would also be appropriate if we even knew what you guys were even looking to do there at this point.
And we'll be happy to have that conversations with them and with your consultants and go through that. As I explained, we needed to obtain...
But it starts with an application.
It does, absolutely.
So, you know, once the application is in, I mean, I think that this conversation is definitely premature. I think once you have an application in, because guess what? We could ask Brookfield, listen, we'd like you to do this, we'd like you to stand on your head, we'd like you to crow like a rooster, hold on, and then you guys don't even put an application in. Right. So why don't, I would recommend to the board that we don't even entertain this until there is an application that's put forward and we actually see what you guys are looking to do, because otherwise we have no clue that you guys are actually going to follow through with.
Well, we have some history of the board having met with the staff and the board in the past. I understand we don't have a present application. I explained that was because we needed to get that second means of access. I certainly understand.
But there wasn't an application years ago.
There was not, correct.
So we've been discussing things for years, and there's been no application, so how do we know that we're not going to be discussing things for years to come, and there won't be an application? I think that's fair enough.
Let me just say, from my experience, and I've lived through all these attempts to do the quarry, they take forever, okay? It's not fair to this client that's invested time, money, energy, for them to have to give you your traffic study when theirs is done. You should be saying to them, we'll include your traffic study, which you've already done, which will help you to figure out what the traffic is going to be. So I think it's just not a right thing to ask for at this point. You saying 30 to 60 days, you may put in an application. Would you like to wait 30 or 60 days for another applicant to tell you to wait for a traffic study that you're responsible for?
No, we can provide them the information for the traffic study now and share and work with them cooperatively. That's what we're suggesting, that the process would benefit.
Yes, I think you guys should be working together.
What I'm suggesting is the process would benefit. I recognize it's highly unusual. I also recognize the scope of development of these two projects is important and highly unusual, so there's a benefit to the community. I'm not asking for anything that is outrageous or inappropriate. I recognize it's unusual. I think there's a sound basis for so doing. If you don't wish to do so, clearly within your purview, and then we'll have a second study, and you'll have other comments, and maybe then it's an iterative process, maybe it's a duplicative, maybe it's not the best way to do it, but if that's how you want to choose, that's well within your authority. I saw an opportunity
I'm not done.
to work with the applicant and work with the board and get ahead of that. If that's in the interest is not there, that's fine.
Like I said, I think that right now, I don't even have one letter from you guys on paper outside of just requesting things. We have no clue what your project is. So at this point, I don't think that it's, in bad taste of us not to, look at this with a skewed eye and say, wait a second, like, why don't you follow the process here a little bit, Like I said, we have had many of people that have come forward and wanted to do projects at the quarry before. There have been all sorts of obstacles. And like I said, I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I can speak for myself. I don't plan on holding up anything just because of the fact that there's a wish list and it might, it might make things speed along for you guys a little later on down the road. Put an application in.
Sure.
That's
And I
all.
wouldn't, with all due respect, I'm not suggesting you hold them up. I think we can be done expeditiously in tandem with them. So I'm not, please don't interpret what I'm doing as suggesting to hold them up. We
I don't
support
think
the
that you're,
project
I
and
don't
want
think
to
that
see
you're
it go
trying to
ahead.
hold them up.
Okay,
Honestly, I think that you're trying to circumvent a system that's with a process that's clearly in place.
Right.
That's what I think.
I'm not trying to circumvent it either. We saw an opportunity to work cooperatively towards addressing an issue and getting it addressed and discussed sooner than later. And we'll put our application in, and we'll have those discussions at that time, and that's appropriate.
Can I ask you a question? Where are you guys at with Old Mill Road, if you don't mind?
I had mentioned in the beginning of my comments that the state and the AG's office are preparing the deed, and we would be closing within 60 days.
So
Within
that's
60 days
60
of-
days, and then they gotta wait and do a traffic study for you. It's another 60, 90 days.
No, the traffic study
I think what you're calling unusual is unreasonable.
And that's fine. The traffic study could certainly commence now. It doesn't have to wait until the road is closed. But I hear the board. I said the traffic study could commence now. It does not have to wait until the closing.
Well, you should start yours then.
And we are in the process of doing that. That's what I had mentioned. We were waiting until we
And then you
obtained Old Mill Road.
can get together and work cooperatively with the two traffic studies.
And to look about the access of over Old Mill Road. Absolutely. We look forward. We've had discussions and
Yeah,
we'll
you got a
continue.
lot of bridges to cross on both sides. I'm very aware of it.
Yep.
And I'd rather you do it cooperatively, but you're putting a burden on them that they don't need to address until you figure out your project, what your traffic study's gonna be, and I know you're not even thinking of using the Lafayette Avenue for truck traffic, because I discussed that with two applicants ago, and they got it in their notes.
Right.
It ain't gonna happen. I'm very familiar with this. I even think I know who some of the people involved in this application are.
Right.
So where are you in discussions? Have you guys talked about this with Brookfield?
We've had preliminary discussions with Brookfield and their council about access over Old Mill Road, and we had made the request that our traffic be included, and they, within their rights, said no. So we're going to continue to have discussions with them about finding a cooperative approach. Right now, we will become the owners of Old Mill Road. It's our position that we'll discuss the issues with them.
Well, maybe you should be the owners before you ask for somebody to do a traffic study.
Yep, I understand.
That's a good first start, and then you got a few more hurdles to jump.
Okay. Thank you.
I look forward to the application. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, we can adopt it, we'd be off and running, study and everything for you guys, and have our experts work with Nelson Pope.
So you may not have egress and ingress on Old Mill Road at this point.
We believe we do. We believe we do for a number of reasons, and that's why, but with that out there, we went over this with Bonnie, we presented an alternative D in the study. An alternative D has us entering and exiting the site through the south entrance on our property, which currently exists now. There may need to be some widening of the roadway along Hemian Road, and as we go into the site, that's why we've changed, as Bonnie has indicated in a red line on the scope, that the planning board of the Village of Montebello will be an involved agency now because of that, and we met with Montebello of that. We've agreed to study that entrance and exit point. And that may be ultimately where we go with our traffic. And maybe there's two entrances, and like I think indicated, maybe there's a mix and match of some of the truck and car traffic, but we're going to study all of it. And that's all we're doing now. We're not asking for you to make a decision tonight. We don't even know the final decision we're going to make, or you're going to make as lead agency here, but we're planning on studying all of it to see how traffic works on both entrances. Ultimately, if we do obtain what we believe is our current right to use Old Mill Road, which we've used for 6 or 7 decades, there'll be studies of maybe using both entrances. That's possible. But we're gonna look at all permutations and combinations related to ingress and egress into the site, including Old Mill Road and the south entrance along Hemian, and that's all in scope.
Does Montebello have permitting authority if you use the south entrance?
Potentially, yes, because we may be widening that entrance.
But that was a request that they made anyway.
Correct. We've agreed to study that. So we think we're ready, we think you're ready to adopt this. Just the outline, just the table of contents.
Take one off.
We have it.
That's right, we got it on film.
You know what, let's adjourn from, I have a legal question I want to consult with counsel. It's a little interesting now with the quarry involved. All right, so.
You want to just take a vote just to go meet with council?
I have a motion to go into executive session, meet with council. Motion, anyone?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the motion.
Motion to go into executive session to discuss this with council.
Sure, why not?
Motion, Jim Giannettino.
Second.
Second, Andrew Dale. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Thanks, we'll be here.
Thank you. All right, thank you for that. So we had a long, detailed conversation, and there were a few things that we feel need to be hashed out. So I'm going to propose we hold this over to September. We're going to move the meeting up earlier in September. There are a few issues that we would like our legal counsel and the planner to discuss with the applicant. That in no way stops you from moving forward, but we just think there are a few things that we want to have addressed. Do I have a motion to approve holding this over till September? Motion, Paul. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Hudson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, we're actually going to do that. It'll be the 14th of September. That works. At 7 p.m. Do we have any old business?
No, I don't think so.
Any new? All right, and before we close, I just want to acknowledge Tim McInerney is resigning from the planning board. He's been a longtime resident, has served with distinction. He is actually moving. We wish him well in his retirement, and thank you for your contributions to the Village of Suffern over the years. All right,
Do we automatically move his brother up to a regular spot?
The village board.
Okay, so as we mentioned, we are going to, do I have a motion to set the September meeting to September 14th at 7 p.m.?
Motion.
Motion, Mr. Giannettino. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr.
I think it was Andrew Dale.
Oh, Andrew Dale got you first. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
I motion.
Tim McInerney, second.
Second.
Second, Paul. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.